So, very nice to see all of you and that you are holding up like this. A little bit of air had to come in. So this is the last little bit before the dinner. So we decided to just wind it down a little bit, not go in high activity mode on all the different aspects of resolution and speed and stuff. But instead, wanted to do a panel discussion where we talk about Inkjet needs visionaries. So today we already saw a couple of people that actually surprised me a little bit because they showed a lot of vision in what they're trying to do. So Alchemy, Archipelago, they are working on technology that potentially changes our industry, but also potentially changes our world. And the question is whether or not our industry should take more visionaries on board instead of trying to fight each other on a little piece of the pie to make money on a liter of ink or a little bit more items to sell. Should we not look more into collaboration and integration? So therefore, we have asked actually 3 people, but Alan couldn't make it, so he's not on the panel. We're doing it with 2 people, and I'd like to introduce them to you. Maybe you could do a proper introduction about yourself, who you are, what your name is, where you come from.
So I'm Javier Quesada. I'm with Kento Digital Printing. My background is basically corrugated packaging. For the last 5 years, I was starting my experience with Inkjet, with digital printing. And 2 years ago, we started developing a hybrid machine. So we are combining Flexo and Inkjet printing specifically for corrugated printing, for corrugated packaging. Okay, so that's my background. So we have time tomorrow. I'll explain you more about our product.
And Ali?
Yes, hi everyone. I'm Ali from Seiko. After developing an ink system during my master thesis and then making some software and electronics for my previous job, and moved into 5 years back for Seiko as a sales guy, and been doing that for the fair bit of for Germany, and then now for Europe, Middle East, and Africa. And from March of 2021, taken over as the head of the department, so taking care of marketing and the sales and also the technical division of Seiko in for the Europe region.
Yeah. So first I want to sort of set the scene a little bit on the stuff that we're going to talk about, because this is the Future Print Tech. So it's about manufacturing. Digital print and manufacturing, we see a lot of technology emerging where we all say this is going to change the world. And then in the end it takes a long, long time. If you look at a house, well, my house is a little different than Marcus and Fraser's. But if you look at facades, glass, solar, this is really manufacturing. If you look at fashion or art, it's more decorative. It's more the stuff that you would find online or where you see designers talking about it. But the other items, also 3D shapes, are really print, but not print as we know it, maybe. So what we do in our industry is mostly solving problems by having a technology where we then say, oh, could we also do something else? So someone makes a print head and someone has ink and we have a printer and we can print on a piece of vinyl, and then someone says, could we also do textile? And then we start doing textile. And then the quality is off and stuff doesn't work, so we have to solve problems and we sell that as innovation. So as an industry, we often find ourselves, so at least me personally, my company is Elements. I'm the founder and owner. And we are a group of industry experts that help integration and development cycles so that we deliver the right technology or the right people at the right moment. Our questions that we get are always at the beginning, where people say, solve my problem. and that could also be clean up my mess, to be honest. And it is technology development where we have to talk about vision. So a lot of what we're going to talk about now is vision and collaboration and integration, because what we call the money pit is actually where we've developed stuff and we are not really getting it into the marketplace yet. We are saying to people we've got great innovations, but they're not accepted in the industry. And as a result, sometimes we just lose out on the opportunity of really selling something exciting. So a couple of examples, and after that we'll dive into the questions about collaboration and integration and vision. Does anyone know what we're looking at here? Anyone an idea? This is Enrico Dini's, is an Italian guy, Enrico Dini's invention to print sand, to make coral. Because the coral reef is dying, and the guy had a vision. He wanted to solve that as a problem. Completely something different from what we understand as print, but this evolved in about 3 decades, into the first 3D printed house in Eindhoven. This is actually 1 street away from me, where people live in. And Enrico Dini has put, I don't know how much effort in making all these connections with all these people throughout the world to translate this sand printer into a concrete printer that now solves a problem. It's also print. It's not print as we know it, maybe. Another one is this. For cosmetical use, I would call it. Sometimes I think of words. Cosmetical, I don't know if it's really a word, but if you have women that have breast cancer and they are breast cancer survivor and they need a prosthetic, then sometimes they want to have a breast for going out in the evening, which has a different feel than one to go to sports. So as an external filler of the bra, they started to scan ladies prior to surgery to then 3D print those prosthetics. This guy, Figura Nova, it's called, this guy has been working now for years and years and tried to speak with the printing industry to get this made. No success. Why not? There's this, let's say, kill factor where the question is, how many units? What's the business case? And just like the story of alchemy, sometimes it's about the passion to change the world. This is the passion to change the world. This is also the passion to change the world. We're no longer cutting pieces out of our world, but we are now printing ceramics. 90% or 95% is now digitally printed. And it all comes from people that want to change the world. On the top, that's the Hollanders double-sided textile machine. So also something that I would like to speak about with alchemy people. The first ever digital direct printer for both sides on textile. It has been a sustainable product for a long, long time already. That company is not that big. And I doubt it will ever get to the greatness of many of the others, because there's a guy with a passion to develop something, and the industry does not really embrace it. So what I want to talk about is the drivers of our industry, the good and the bad, because I think all of us here have examples of fantastic projects, but also about, ooh, do you remember that guy that wanted to bring a printer and then sort of made crap? Can I say that? Often we don't discuss it amongst us, and we're going to change it a little bit in a positive sense. For me, the question is rather, Javier, you have been working on, let's say, the hybrid side of things.
Yes.
So traditional and digital, and you found partners that help you succeed with what you're doing. Can you elaborate a little bit on how that was for a challenge for you?
Yeah. So my first contact with Inkjet was traditional Inkjet for corrugated specifically, coming from that industry. The the image I got at that, like 5 years ago, 4 years ago, is that we were not listening to the customer. We were just looking and not really listening to solve a problem. So, and that's the reason why Ralph was saying, I think, very accurate figures about the percentage of, I'm always going to talk about corrugated, that's what I know, okay? About the very tiny percentage of digitalization in corrugated packaging. That, by the way, is 20 times bigger as ceramics printing. So it's a huge industry. It's a huge volume printed every year. So it's just 0.3, 0.4% of the total production. Why? Because we were not listening to the customer. We didn't know exactly, or we pretend to listen, but we didn't. So what we did was, one of our partners is been manufacturing flexo printers for corrugated for 40 years. So we were meeting and discussing when we were thinking about the first ideas about Kento. We're not hybrid, we're just digital printing for corrugated. And then we came up with the idea of combining the two technologies, okay? Taking the best of both worlds. No? That's my example of good collaboration. So, and integration. Having Inkjet people and Flexo analog people together, listening to the customer, we really managed, I think, to offer the industry a solution that really helps both the analog side and the Inkjet side. Okay, so that's basically the idea of I think it's a good example of good collaboration.
Yeah, but because I see the same type of collaboration with Seiko. You have been doing the open houses, where you invite a lot of people that really collaborate. Is that the same as what Javier is now talking about?
Exactly. As a printhead manufacturer, we know that we cannot bring a solution to the market without working with partners. So we need to work with the right partners, ink manufacturers, electronics manufacturers, integrators, machine manufacturers, everybody. So they have to come, the vision or the solution needs to be clear where we need to go to, and everybody needs to work together to bring that solution and make it a reality. And what we try to do as a printhead manufacturer is that we stay agnostic. We don't work with one ink manufacturer. We work with everybody in the market. They all have different solutions. They all have different expertise. And we ask them what they can bring on the table to solve an issue, to bring a solution in the market. And the Open Week, as you rightly mentioned, is a platform where different ink manufacturers, different electronics manufacturers, everybody come and show their technology to our customers, to anybody who wants to come and find out what's possible with Inkjet. And we've started doing this. 2021 was the first time we did it. Last year was another, this year, 2022, in June, we had it again. We had over 120 participants who just came about and just spoke about what are the issues they're facing in the market and what's their vision, what they want to do, and see if there's a possibility to do it with the people in the room. And where we're trying to go to is, what you mentioned earlier with Hollanders, that's an example which we did, like, I think 10 years ago. I think you were very much a part of it. If you could just explain a little bit about it, that would be great. Because as a customer, we just printhead manufacturers, but as a customer, you saw what we brought on the table about 10 years ago, and then you could explain what's important as just component suppliers, and also bringing this knowledge and the know-how from the partners along with us on the table.
Yeah, for us back then, we were trying to sort of, let's say, liberate the textile printing industry, where we said we want to create a printer that lasts for a long time, can print 24/7 or 22/7, because you have to do some maintenance sometimes. But at least have a system that is both economically viable, but also technically that it works. And we already had a vision that we wanted to print on both sides, because we wanted to go for curtain printing. And digitally, it's almost impossible to get ink on one side to travel to the other side. So that's why I wanted to have that thing. But up until now, people were printing downwards. And we were too. Until we sort of said, what if we could print sideways? It never had been done. And it was sort of an accident because the print head, we had your print head, it fell over and it kept running. And then we thought, hey, this is an interesting head. If it can do this, could it also be upwards and then scanning? And it did. And that sort of turned into, so our vision was already there. The technology wasn't really there. It was sort of a lucky thing. But it was a lucky thing because your heads worked, right? So that is an example that where the vision is still there, but sometimes you just need that little bit of luck or a little bit of a push. Or and if I look, you are working together. So was that also luck from your side, or did you really handpick and look at something?
We started from scratch, so we were like print agnostics, no, yes, at that time. So knowing the product is critical. So again, Ralph was talking about different substrates. So corrugated is a difficult material. It's not always perfectly flat. Can be coated, uncoated, craftliner, testliner. There's a lot, very wide variety of materials. So the first thing we did was in our lab, testing all printheads available, let's say, and all inks available. Well, the conclusion was that for this specific material, your solution was one of your solutions was the right one. No, it must be something robust in a very harsh environment. I mean, corrugated is dust everywhere, and difficult conditions. So we needed just a very robust solution. Customers in this industry, in corrugated industry, they run the machines 24/7, and they expect the machine to be very, very reliable. Okay, so that was another example of collaboration. No?
But didn't you, because Marcus said something about the tyranny of the expertise, right? Is that something that you bumped into then, where you suffered from people being an ego or saying it has to be as fast or faster or cheap or cheaper or
again, we had a very long experience in the industry, so we knew the problems, and then we tried to listen to the customer. Of course, a customer, when facing a new technology, demands everything. So the best of the best. But well, we have to explain, look, this is new technology. It's a total new machine combining two technologies that never before in corrugated. In other industries like labels, for many years. It's a simple idea. It's not something very new, but it's the first time for corrugated. No? For the moment, we have been lucky. The customers, our first customers, understand that it's a new thing, and but it's true that they are asking, and the learning process is being very, very interesting because we are testing everything on all kinds of materials. We already thought or designed the machine to be very flexible, to be able to print on all kinds of substrates, and that's critical for corrugated industry. Mm-hmm. So we really, for the moment, the customers are very demanding, of course, but they understand that it's a new technology and it needs some learning.
Right. Was it easy, you think? Or, Ali, did you bump into challenges or problems? Or did you just say, look, this head can do this, but it can't do this? Very transparent, very partner-like?
We tend to be very transparent. I mean, in some applications, we just go out and tell them that I think in this application, you need more DPI, and it's not going to be possible with the technology we currently have. So we are working on new technologies, and when that's ready, we will come back to you and we will show this technology to you. But we don't go ahead and we just say, hey, you have to use Seiko printheads, you have to use our printheads. I think it's not possible, and we have spoken about it earlier. We are always fighting for that small piece of the cake. You know, we actually have to fight against the entire analog printing industry, and there's enough opportunities out there for everybody to survive and to grow. So what we tend to do is, like corrugated. So we come from a lot of experience in ceramics, And the similar experience we have used in the corrugated market. Obviously, we had to work closely with our partners or our customers and find out what the requirements are, and then take these inks that they are using, which is one of the crucial parts of any inkjet system, take these inks and start working with them, developing the right waveforms, finding out what kind of drops can be printed, finding out how fast we can print, and then give these solutions to the customers so that then they can go and market their printers in the market. So, basically what difficulties you face in selling machines to the field, that's, they come back to us and they tell us, okay, what can you do about it? How can you make the printhead faster? How can you print more different types of inks? How can you print bigger drop sizes so that you can get the coverage for corrugated? So these are the challenges that we have been working with. And now we are developing, we have a new printhead out, which we are showing on the table outside, is a printhead with a metal nozzle plate. So this is something that we've heard from the industry, that nozzle plates, which are made of plastic, do get scratched. And that's something that causes an issue. The drop placement becomes an issue. And then we said, okay, what can we do about it? And we have now, it took a lot of time for us. It took about almost 3 years for us to develop this technology. But finally, we have that. And now we're going to try to bring this in the market.
This is a good example of listening to the customer, because these new features are helping us, are going, because we chose your technology because of reliability, robustness, and also having the right balance between jetting distance. If the substrate is not perfectly flat and not 100% control, you need a margin. So you cannot jet 1 millimeter. You need more space. So you have to find the right balance, but the key for this industry is robustness, reliability.
Right. So we already talked a little bit during lunchtime, and it came to the point where we said we can talk about this for hours, and I think that most of the people here. So we're going to wrap up this session, but I want to have at least a question for the audience, that later on, when having dinner or having a drink, share with your neighbor or share with someone that you don't know here in the room. So not I call this the traveling circus of familiar faces. And it's easy to go to the people that you already know, but I would give you, let's say, a task, if I may, to just reach out to someone that you don't know and then ask for what was it that made you like or love or have passion for printing or inkjet printing, and what is an example of what we shouldn't be doing anymore in the future. Just like the platform that we just heard, that comes out of a sort of a frustration. So for me, my question to all of you would be, find each other and then talk about what makes our industry great, but more importantly, what can make it greater even. So thank you very much for your attention. Thank you very much.